Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. I am Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who's been practicing his steel drums. It's Taylor Rockwell.
Hello. Yeah, I enjoy the national anthems on the steel drums. I thought that was a good little bit of a different moment.
Yeah, maybe more countries should do that. Maybe
I think so.
Before more games, there should be like a national instrument type thing should happen.
We had a tweet from Dan Werner that I really appreciated. He said he laughed at first, but upon reflection, he thought it would be cool if each host injected local flavor into the anthems. And I think you could do that. You could have, like, if you were having the U.S. host a game, whatever city it was, it could be based on that. Or it could just be like the symphony of that city could do the national anthems.
Oh, I see.
It could be cool. Yeah, I like local flavor.
They could usually use the work as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Arts funding isn't exactly what it used to be, so yeah.
We are here to talk about the US men's national team's 6-0 win over St Vincent and the Grenadines. First question, Taylor. Good result? Is 6-0 enough for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You felt satisfied with the scoreline?
4-0, 3-0 would have been enough for me, really.
Really?
Because that's kind of historically what the U.S. does on the road against weaker teams in CONCACAF. Yeah.
What about the performance? I think we'll get a little more detailed afterwards, but your first take on the performance.
My first take on the performance is that you had some really good individual performances. Overall, a good team performance. But I think also some...
I'm not sure I'm with you on that.
Some looking forward to next week, I think. And so you saw, especially at the start of the second half, U.S. looking a little bit sloppy, a little bit, I guess you could say lazy. I would say more so aware of the physical challenges that the Vinnies were going with.
There was definitely a good spell at the start of the second half where Emerald George in particular, number 17, was getting really physical. And you saw US players backing out of challenges. And you actually saw the Vinnies kind of come back into the game a little bit in that period. I mean, I think Klinsmann's going to be real mad about that.
I think so too. There really were in one play, there were three different times when three different American players probably could have got to the 50-50 ball, and each time we're like, no, I'm not getting my knee blown out because of this.
Is that maybe professional wisdom, right? We're 3-0 up, we're definitely winning this game. I'm not getting my knee blown out by Emerald George.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, we've played in those games at amateur level, which is, we were up 4-0 and the other team is like really trying, and it's just like, I'm not gonna try to go like crazy physical into a challenge with you because I'm gonna get a broken leg when it's 4-0 up with 2 minutes to play. It's kind of unnecessary.
And if we're going to be a little negative, it did take the US something like 20 minutes to get the scoring started.
28 minutes. Yep.
And before Bobby Wood scored that goal, there was a moment where Alex Anderson got that free header at goal because it looked to me like DeAndre Yedlin and Alejandro Bedoya absolutely broke the US's offside line.
It seems like they'd spent a decent amount of time working on design set pieces from an attacking standpoint. More on that in a little bit. Maybe not so much on defensive standpoint and holding that line.
So I don't know if you can remember this, people listening. If there's a moment when...
We tweeted it. We tweeted the screenshot.
Oh, yeah, we did. St Vincent had a free kick from kind of deep, right? And the US just tried to hold an offside line at the top of the penalty area, which is kind of a traditional...
Tried is a generous term.
It's a traditional thing to do, right? You stand at the edge of the 18-yard box because there's literally a line you can stand on, so everybody holds the line. As the ball is about to be struck, Yedlin and Bedoya, it's like the line just collapses at one end, as if it's like a shelf with too much weight on one end. It just collapses and they fall backwards.
It's a tradition to hold the 18, and then it's a tradition of shaky defenders to not hold the 18 and back off 6 yards.
It's about holding your nerve, right? Because the natural thing when someone runs behind you is you to want to go with them. Right. And the strong-minded, confident thing to do is just remind yourself, no, they're offside, they're offside, they're offside. It's okay, I can stand here.
And it's really hard to do because you also have the awareness that if that player is onside and runs through and they're unmarked, you are going to be yelled at a lot. You are going to be shown on the replay over and over and over again, being 10 yards away from the person who scores.
You've got to trust in the system. But they didn't, and Alex Anderson gets that header on target. Brad Guzan, I think, catches it.
He hits it down, and Brad Guzan, I think, is expecting it to come at him, and so then he struggles, parries it up in the air, and eventually collects.
So it was okay, but it was an element where this game could have started like the game in St. Louis did, where the US are 1-0 down to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
A better header troubles Guzan more, and then a header back across goal, which I think some players would opt for, you're going to have players who are then unmarked at that back post, and that could have been an even bigger problem.
But it didn't happen.
It did not.
Instead, just a couple of minutes later, Bobby Wood has the ball in the back of the net. And here, to me, this is kind of an obvious thing to say, but this goal was the difference between these two teams is one team was capable of having moments of sort of top-class quality.
Yeah, I call this goal luck class.
Yeah, because all the build-up to this goal is a bit of a mess. But in the end, it falls to Bobby Wood, and he just picks a spot, bends the ball into it, and it's the keeper can't reach it.
Yeah, because Jose Altidore picks the ball up about 40 yards from goal, 35 yards from goal.
Yeah, after a bad header by Durham.
Yeah.
Isn't it just like a Brad Guzan sort of goal kick?
Yeah.
And Durham, one of the three centre-backs, comes to meet it and just kind of fluffs his header.
I can't remember if it's that one or a later goal, but either way, that happened a lot.
Yeah.
But Altidore gets the ball, does some dribbles, kind of doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing, but knows that he wants to take the ball forward, that he wants to get the U.S. in a more of an attacking position, but stumbles a bit, has to collect himself, plays it off to Fabian Johnson, who takes a heavy first touch. I think he's trying to basically take it back across goal, but his heavy first touch falls into the path of Bobby Wood. So it looks, if you're watching it first time...
It's a Dempsey assist. Fabian Johnson has a Dempsey assist, where you don't mean to pass it to the guy, but it ends up with the other guy.
But it looks really good from the wide angle, up close less so. But then it falls to Bobby Wood, who does that one-time bending finish in step into the side netting.
Yeah.
And that's a really wonderfully taken goal.
Okay, so we've got things that we're going to note. I think from almost every goal, we're going to try and give you the things that you maybe didn't notice. Before we get too deep into the goals, I want to talk about the camera angles and the overall sort of production value that we got from St Vincent.
I really enjoyed when it started to rain lightly at one point, and you had 4 or 5 big raindrops on the camera, and they just cut away to some very disinterested looking fans, and then immediately cut back to the game in the middle of play. And it was pretty obvious that they cut away, somebody frantically wiped the camera down, and then they cut back.
I kind of enjoyed that sort of, I don't know what you call that. It's like a level of professionalism within a low budget. But at least they knew how to do that.
At least you didn't have just somebody stand in front of the camera and wipe it away.
And then give the thumbs up.
And they did a good job wiping. There weren't any streaks.
That's true.
We'll give them that.
No streaks at all.
I think the thing that I really had kind of not noticed, and then you pointed it out, and then it became a problem for me for 5 or 10 minutes, is that I think because of the low angle where the camera was set, you couldn't use a tripod, or whoever was doing it couldn't really use the tripod. Even if they had it set, you still had to move the camera up and down because you couldn't get the whole field or the whole width of the field in one shot.
Just one camera going left and right.
It sure did, and it was up and down and kind of shaky. It was a little bit of a weird thing. Always Sunny has that, actually, where they don't use cameras on mounts.
Yeah.
So if you're watching and you start to notice it, you'll notice how all of a sudden the camera really just kind of moves around and no one is ever truly centered.
Yep.
And it can be a little bit distracting.
So here's my question. Because of that sort of... I want to say they did a good job with a low budget, right? It's kind of shoddy production compared to what we're used to from ESPN and Fox Sports. And because of the way that it was a cricket field, so it's a great big grass area and it looked kind of bumpy and the stadium didn't quite fit a soccer stadium. To me, the game looked all weirdly spread out, especially in the first half. And I can't tell, is that the situation? It was also kind of windy. Or is that the US being kind of spread out?
I think that's more the situation, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it was that weird, even the field looked narrow, even though it was big, because it's on a cricket pitch or a cricket field or whatever you want to go with. And so you had a ton of green space on either side. You had, a good 30 yards, 40 yards from the goal to the players' pavilion. That was all visible. Then you had, you could still see
that's usually where the batting team, there's only 2 guys in bat. The rest of them will go and sit in the players' pavilion and watch from there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
And then, you could see where the steel drums had been set up. You could see some goals shoved off to the side.
Yeah.
So I think when you have so much other stuff that isn't usually there, that is now in the shot, it makes it harder to see that as a tight atmosphere of a smaller field.
But I meant more about the US performance, because I felt like maybe the US, the team was too spread out. The defense wasn't high enough up the field, wasn't squeezing up to be on top of St Vincent.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure if it was a slightly cowardly thing where they've thought we could get beat for pace by Olex Anderson over the top, so we're going to sit a little deep. And then you see a big gap between defence and midfield and forwards. And I really got that feeling. That would have been my criticism if I was coaching this game or something. But I'm really conscious that may be an optical illusion.
Well, no, I also think that you maybe have the answer to your question from the other day about what if we just go out there and we try to bully them? What if it's overly physical, overly aggressive? I think it was the opposite. I think they weren't trying to do that. I think you didn't see the urgency from the back four to step up and play in a high offside line.
Would you have preferred to see that?
I think it's tough to say because there's
after
some
a 6-0 win. Right?
Yeah, it's I feel like it's being a little bit yes and no. I think it's hard to really take anything truly away from this game other than some individual bits and pieces that I enjoyed. But
we're going to try that, right?
But no big questions are going to be answered. Nor I would say should they be against St Vincent and the Grenadines. No, I mean no disrespect, but you're not going to really iron out some serious problems against a team that's 175th in the world. Okay,
what is the biggest positive from this game then, given that massive grain of salt you just dropped on it? I have mine. I'd like to know what yours is.
I would say Sasha Kleshtin. I would say he was the player that was called in late, hasn't been called for 2 years, didn't miss a beat when he was on the ball. Again, comes in when it's 3-0 up, I think, maybe 4-0 up at that point. But like he gets a goal, he gets 2 assists, he assists both Christian Pulisic's goals.
Does he? I thought Zusi got the assist on the second one.
No, Zusi spills it to Kleshtin, I think, who squares it back across. I'm pretty sure on that one. But regardless, it's really good play from him, and you see the reasons why he's in there. Because number one, he's a good teammate. Always not like overly celebrating, but clearly genuinely happy when the ball goes in the back of the net.
You spotted a pat on the butt that you seemed to be.
Oh yeah, he did like a hug, a high five, a pat on the butt for Pulisic. It was very nice. But even that first ball for Christian Pulisic, like Sasha Kleshtin does a really good job
for Pulisic's first goal.
Yeah, of like trying to play some 1-2s, trying to play some quick soccer. Then he gets the ball played to him. His first touch sets himself up perfectly to play a left-footed, it's like a right foot touch across himself to then play it perfectly with the left foot in the path of Christian Pulisic.
And so it's not like I can predict the future. It's just that I've seen Kleshtin do exactly that pass, right? That low-ish bending pass between defenders through ball many, many times when you see the highlights of what he's done this season for New York Red Bulls. So that's exactly what I was expecting of him. And I was really happy to see him do that for the US national team. Yeah. Can I give you my major positive?
Absolutely.
Kellyn Acosta looking like a left-back.
Yep.
Right?
Agreed.
And I know it's against St Vincent, but all the other data points we have are Kellyn Acosta playing left-back for U20s, U23s, and US senior national team, not looking like a left-back. At least we have this one data point of Acosta looking good in the left-back spot.
Right, looking good, looking comfortable. And then we'll see how that progresses.
And it was kind of perfect for him. Like, if you look at the St Vincent formation, we went back and took a look at what they were doing. It seemed to be like 3 central defenders and then kind of 5 across midfield, sometimes 4 and then 3. And they really had no protection down the wings. So often, Kellyn Acosta could provide the overlap, get forward, and be free. Yeah. Right? So it was perfectly set up for him.
Yep.
But at least we've got one positive performance. And the only times when he was one-on-one against a winger, I believe he just stood up, waited for them to make a mistake, won the ball back.
All right.
Right?
Yeah. So
big check mark.
Kellyn Acosta gets a check mark.
No, sorry, tiny check mark.
And then I think the other one that people would be pretty enthusiastic about is the fact that if you have him there, as we saw in this game, that means you have Fabian Johnson further up the field.
Yes.
Yes, he only played, 60 minutes, something like that. I'm assuming that's so he can get a rest for the game against Trinidad. But it's, I think, a thing we'd rather see is Fabian Johnson attacking and a more standard defender defending. That said, Kellyn Acosta not naturally a left back, even though I think Thomas Rungan said that was his best position.
Right?
Yeah, but we've heard from plenty of people saying
that
you've basically solved one play. We had a great tweet about that. I forget who it was, so I apologize. But it was like you've solved one problem of playing a player out of position by playing another player out of position.
Also, credit to Fabian Johnson. I know that we said it was like a Dempsey accidental assist where he sort of stumbled the ball to Bobby Wood for the first goal. He nearly put Bobby Wood through on goal. Well, he did put Bobby Wood through on goal in the first 30 seconds. It was a great pass to split the defenders. Wood kind of fluffed his shot.
Yeah, well, Wood absolutely fluffed his shot. But I think it was good for me. It made me happy. It's not like my lasting impression of this game. My big takeaway was Sasha Kleshtin, maybe Christian Pulisic. I'm sure people are annoyed we haven't talked about that yet.
Oh, we will. Don't worry. We'll talk about Pulisic.
But if you watch the first St. Vincent game at home, the 6-1 win, you see a lot of interplay between Bobby Wood and Josie Altidore and Fabian Johnson.
Yeah.
If you watch the highlights of this game, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see those guys playing off of each other, making
the first goal, right?
Fluid runs, kind of understanding what the other ones are trying to do. And I think, and even the Bobby Wood goal is an example of why we wanted him starting up top in the middle.
Yeah.
Because he's there to finish the ball. He's a good finisher.
Is there a positive there for people looking for reasons to like Klinsmann? The fact that we saw Johnson, Altidore, Wood, this worked against St Vincent, therefore let's do it again. In the next game, at least there's some evidence that he's looked at the past at what has worked and re-implemented it.
Maybe. I think no one is going to take. No one who really, really, really has problems with Klinsmann is going to be like, "Yep, he figured it out," and no one
he beat the Vinnies.
Yeah, and then everyone who really, really likes Klinsmann or kind of likes Klinsmann is going to be like, "Well, 6-0 win is good." I think it will be. It's kind of like I was listening to Keep It at 1600. That's the great politics podcast that I enjoy lately, and they were talking about how it's weird how people's perceptions of what's happening in the elections now. It's not so much like I think this; it's more like I'm worried about other people will think this. Like everyone kind of has like a pundit mentality, and I think it's the same thing where you won't.
No one taking any responsibility for what's happening.
A little bit, but you'll see. I feel like you're going to see people who really don't like Klinsmann putting out the sarcastic, like, oh, we won 6-0, that means we solved all the problems. So it's type of tweets. And I think you'll see that, and I think vice versa, you'll see, like, the kind of sarcastic responses on the other side.
Well, speaking of, Benny Feilhaber put a tweet out today.
He sure did.
What was it? You saw it. I've only heard it reported secondhand by you.
I think it was like weird exclamation question mark. Sasha Kleshtin is good. I think maybe some shade being thrown out there.
He just accepted that he's not getting called there, so he's throwing shade all over Twitter.
Yeah, pretty much. He's I think he's made his peace with never getting called in. He also congratulated Matt Besler on his baby.
Yeah.
Matt Besler celebrated his newborn with the baby celebration.
Well, shall we talk about Besler's goal and maybe the other goals? And we'll try and pick out some of the things maybe people missed if they only saw this casually.
Sure. Besler is the new Suarez. Can we start there?
Besler is the new Suarez. Yep. Yes, please explain why. Because this is actually a Suarez thing.
Not just because of the emphatic volleyed finish, which is how Besler scored, but it's because it comes from a U.S. set piece. And we talked about in the preview, we expected to see some more design set pieces. We saw one inside the first 5 minutes with a low Josie Altidore set piece that was clearly played low for a one-time shot.
Yeah.
In this situation, it's a free kick. Matt Besler standing 5 yards offside or so. Yep. The free kick comes in, and it's clearly aimed for the back post for, I believe it's Alejandro Bedoya is theoretically there.
Yeah.
And then if it...
he's actually there.
It is.
It's theoretically for him to head back across
goal.
Exactly.
If executed perfectly, he heads it back across goal. And Matt Besler, who was previously offside, because he was offside, no one's marking him. Now everyone's dropped back to defend that header. The likely scenario is they've all also shifted over to try to clear. If it comes back across, he's wide open. That's exactly what happened, except it was a Vinny player who headed it back across goal.
I think it was Roy Richards gets there first and heads it into Matt Besler's
it was.
path. Yeah.
He says, checking his notes.
The clever thing there for people who maybe haven't followed this, because it is, I still find this oddly complicated, right? Matt Besler is in an offside position when the first ball is played in, but it's played to someone else.
Yep.
So when the second ball then comes across to him, it's okay. He's no longer offside because the defense has dropped.
As far as I understand, it wouldn't matter even if he were still in an offside position because it came from a St. Vinny's player.
Yeah, no, but the design play is that it comes from a US player.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But in this situation, even if he had still been 5 yards offside because Richards is the one who heads the ball to him, doesn't matter. He is onside.
And we can maybe credit the US with causing or sowing the seeds of havoc in the St. Vincent defence to cause that header.
Yep.
But I would say that happened even without too much pressure. Early on.
I think so. So that's the second goal. Third goal is
Bobby Wood taken down really harshly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was Roy Richards as well.
It was?
Yeah.
I think, goodness gracious. There definitely could have been a couple red cards and a few more yellow cards in this game.
A lot of high tackles. I'm really surprised by how the St. Vincent players were happy to leap off the floor and have their legs flailing across and clothesline people with their legs and then argue with the ref about how that's not a foul.
I think I would say it's because of the gap in skill. That they're used to playing in something like the Antigua and Barbuda League, some of their domestic league, and I think they're probably used to being able to get to balls because it's a 50-50 ball.
Right.
But they're fast and physical, and they're not used to playing players who play in the Bundesliga.
Bobby Wood's faster and physical.
Exactly. And so I think they're coming in and expecting to be, it's like if you're playing in the 7th division in our league and you're like, I'm getting to this ball, no problem. And then all of a sudden you're playing in the Premier League in our league.
Oh, I've had literally that experience.
Exactly.
One of those at 11 and then one of those at 1. And then suddenly I'm half a second late to a tackle in the higher division.
And then you wreck somebody because you think you're going to get to it. But all of a sudden
I didn't even wreck anybody. I just missed everything altogether. I was like, got to pick up the pace for this division.
As we talked about, my one yellow card for a tackle came from that exact situation where I was just like, I'll get to this ball, no problem. And then I forgot that I was 30 and playing at a higher level.
Forgot that I was 30.
And I think that's what happened here. Is just a lot of those challenges were sort of used to being able to come in, fly in, and boot that ball clear. And instead, it's Bobby Wood darting in behind,
through, right?
And then the ball's gone, but Bobby Wood is still there when they go to clear that ball.
All right, so that's 3-0 at half-time, right? Game is in the bag, essentially.
Yep.
We come out second half, and as we talked about, there's that thing where US players are maybe a little wary of the tackles, right? They slow it off a little bit. So the US doesn't score the fourth goal until the 71st minute. It's Christian Pulisic, because the subs that came on were Christian Pulisic and Sasha Kleshtin.
In the 66th minute.
And suddenly the US starts playing some nice soccer and some kind of slice them open soccer.
Yes, I think so. And that's what we talked about, why we wanted Pulisic to be a late substitution, to come in and kind of terrorize the defenses, kind of do what he wants, play the smart passes, keep possession, create opportunities, and that's just what he did.
So we already talked about his goal, right? And the beautiful ball in from Sasha Kleshtin.
Yep.
We didn't really talk about his touch. The way Pulisic collects that ball in stride, rolls the ball ahead of himself, and then finishes calmly. That got me kind of excited. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean because it's it shows you all of his skills, that he reads the defense, he reads what Kleshtin's going to do, he uses pace to get into a good position, he has an excellent first touch to set himself up for a fluid second touch, which is the shot. It's everything you want to see in an attacking player, and it's ridiculous to see in a teenager.
And then maybe, 10 minutes later, maybe less, he returns the favour. Christian Pulisic, I think, exchanges passes with Jordan Morris.
71st, 78th, and 92nd minutes.
There we go. Okay, so 78th, Pulisic exchanges passes with Jordan Morris, who's come on the field, gets down the wing, squares it for Sasha Kleshtin. That was a really nice move from the US. A little too easy, but...
And again, the same thing, where it's a smart run from Kleshtin to find himself in space, but hold up his run a little bit so he doesn't give himself away. Finishes ably, as you would if you're inside the 6-yard box. But it's a great run and a great kind of, it's that perfect low ball that gets just around the first defender but then comes back into the path of the attacker before the goalkeeper can get a hand to it.
Yep, corridor of uncertainty, I believe, as Adam Hurry would like to call it.
Correct.
The thing we notice with this goal is it's Pulisic that starts it. Doesn't he collect the ball sort of in central midfield and start this whole passing move before eventually running beyond Jordan Morris, getting in behind?
I think so.
This really was an example of Pulisic making things happen, not just the assists, the whole sort of tempo and movement that happens beforehand.
Yes,
right?
And then I think that continues on to his second goal of the USA 6th.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's obviously, this is the one that he finishes. This would be the highlight moment, I think, of this game, will be he outdoes Bobby Wood for class instep finish from 20 yards out. This one, because it's more top corner, completely, I mean, the goalkeeper's just standing flat-footed because there's nothing he can do about it. So it's a really well-taken finish. But I think the thing that we were really impressed by when we went back and watched is that, again, he's the one who starts this move.
Yeah. Oh, so it is, and we sort of argued about this, or disagreed about this earlier. It is Graham Zusi who was pulled out wide right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you see the whole St Vincent team has shifted to the left side of the field, which is where the ball is. Zusi is really on his own. He has the entire half of the field to himself. Even Jurgen Klinsmann is waving, right? No US player is switching the field. Everything's crowded over that one side, right? I think Jordan Morris is the first culprit, has the option to go across the field and doesn't. Eventually, the ball gets to Pulisic. He's the one that looks up and switches the field.
Well, he's the one that I think is we're doing this. It felt to me like a couple of different U.S. players saw that ball, but we're like, I'm not quite in the position I want. I haven't given myself enough pace to run up and really hit that ball.
Right.
So I'll pass and I'll let somebody else get into it.
It does take a certain amount of skill to find the space and have the confidence to go all the way across field when there are players crowded around you, right? That's the confidence that Pulisic had.
Yep. So then this is where I think maybe we have some disagreement, because from what I remember, it was then Zusi picks up that ball, dribbles at the defense, I think gets dispossessed, and it falls to Kleshtin. Kleshtin spots Pulisic at the top of the box, slides it across. Pulisic takes the touch, knocks it home.
Okay. All right, I'll agree then.
There we are.
Just for non-argument's sake.
I appreciate that.
I agree. But the important thing I'm thinking of is that cross-field ball from Pulisic to Zusi. To me, the fact that Klinsmann was calling for it and Pulisic does it, we don't need convincing that Klinsmann's a Pulisic fan at this point.
No, we don't.
But we maybe did need extra evidence that he's maybe the smartest guy in the room on the ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's the precocious teenager.
Yeah, especially because as soon as he came on, he tried to dribble at somebody and got dispossessed. And we were like,
yeah,
that's not normal. That's not a good thing. And then he made up for it quite a bit.
He's starting to remind me of... have you seen The Social Network, the movie? And the way that Mark Zuckerberg's the smartest guy in the room?
Yeah. That's
Pulisic's starting to remind me of that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't become
but much nicer.
a vindictive sociopath. But allegedly. I'm guessing he won't. He seems like a sweet kid.
So the game finishes 6-0.
Yep.
Very good for US goal difference. We were thinking of sort of previewing the Trinidad game on this show, but we've realised it all depends on Trinidad versus Guatemala, which I'm not sure has even kicked off at the time we're recording. So can you explain the situation, Taylor? Why it matters what happens in that Trinidad-Guatemala game?
Sure. At this point, I believe the United States and Trinidad are both on 10 points. Guatemala, if they win, would then be on 9 points.
Yeah.
So then it's all to play for. The United States needs a result. So does Trinidad. So does Guatemala on the final day. If, however, Trinidad wins or gets any kind of favorable result, then it's basically... It is the case that the United States and Trinidad go through.
Yep.
It's a dead rubber that last game. Neither one really needs anything. So then you might see them play a bunch of kids and a bunch of experimental
formations. You will see them play a bunch of kids, because that's what Klinsmann has said, right? He said, if we're already qualified, I'll play the kids in that game.
Right.
So when we do our preview, we'd be picking our strongest lineup is probably what we'd be going for. But we don't know if we need our strongest lineup to get a result to make sure that Guatemala... If we lose to Trinidad, Guatemala beats St Vincent, they could leapfrog us, right? If they get a result against Trinidad as well. Then we have to play our strongest team. If not, then we can sort of play the kids and mess around a little bit. So there are 2 different previews, and there's no point us doing one or the other without knowing the result.
Yeah, people love theoretical previews. So I'd say, we'll hold off and maybe try to do a quick phoner tomorrow morning and give our quick thoughts.
So if you're listening to this on Friday, I think what we're planning is Saturday morning, we're going to do a quick preview show. Once we know the Trinidad v Guatemala result, we know what we'll need from that Trinidad game on Tuesday night. We'll let you know what we think is going to happen in terms of US lineup in that game.
Is plan.
One team we do know the lineup for,
weirdly,
is England in their away trip to Slovakia. So that game is Sunday, noon Eastern. You can find it on the Watch ESPN online channels, I think on ESPN Deportes as well. We kind of previewed this on the Thursday show. And then Sam Allardyce on Friday, today, announced his lineup. He was at St George's Park, told the players, here's my starting 11. The media now knows, here's the starting 11. We know the starting 11.
Right.
The thing that I'm really happy about is it's kind of the pragmatic approach we were hoping for, where he doesn't squeeze Jamie Vardy in as a right winger, and he doesn't try and cram too many players into the team, right?
I think it's a pragmatic approach to announce the lineup.
Yeah.
I really do, because if you think back to the Euros, there was the talk that maybe there was a mole in the camp because lineups were getting leaked and assistants were holding their notepads the wrong way and showing off possible formations and all these little bits and pieces here and there. And he said he really announced it now to help the players be calm, so the players knew where they were going to be and what their responsibilities were going to be.
Yep.
But I think it's also to get out in front, because if the lineup leaks, then it's going to be 2 straight days of, is he doing this? Why is he doing this? This is stupid. Whereas just saying, this is what I'm doing, we'll see how it works.
Right.
It kind of cuts it at its root, because he's in charge of it now. He's out in front of it. So I think that makes sense. And I think the roster or the lineup more or less makes sense if you think about what he's trying to do.
So it's Kane, lone striker basically. Rooney just underneath him, which I think suits both players.
We're assuming, by the way. We've only seen the lineup. We've seen the 11 players. We don't necessarily know where they're going to be, but we can guess.
But it is this. And then the wide guys appear to be Lallana, not Walcott, and Raheem Sterling. Probably Lallana on the right, Sterling on the left. I'm good with that, because if you've seen any Lallana for Liverpool games so far this season, he looks like he's taken performance-enhancing drugs. I'm assuming he hasn't, but he's running hard, and making things happen.
As long as he's not the one shooting, then I think we're fine. he had a few missed opportunities in the Euros.
I have memories from Euro 2016.
Having said that, he's now going to score, obviously.
Dele Alli not in the starting lineup.
Correct.
It's going to be Eric Dyer, makes sense, only defensive midfielder in England. Except for maybe Klukas. I'd like to see Klukas from Hull play maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Alongside him is Jordan Henderson.
I think Danny Drinkwater would also like a word with you about defensive midfield.
I won't quite call him that. I'll call him more of a two-way midfielder.
But Jordan Henderson in there as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's not maybe the midfield I would have liked to see. I think I would have maybe liked to have seen Drinkwater in there, but I'll settle.
It's the most risk-averse midfield, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me. Centre-backs, this is kind of top of my head now. Cahill and Stones.
You got it. Because Smalling is still recovering from injury. It looks like he didn't want to take that risk.
So that's a bit of experience, bit of youth. It's going to be okay, right? And then I think it's Kyle Walker and Luke Shaw are your fullbacks.
I think it's Danny Rose.
Kyle Walker and Danny Rose are your fullbacks. Yes, you're right. Okay. Whoa, that's kind of a surprise, right?
Yeah.
I guess they both had strong starts to the season, so it's hard to pick between them.
Yeah. Actually, it didn't really occur to me that it wasn't Luke Shaw until just this moment. And now I am sort of like, whoa, that's a weird thing. But, I guess he's maybe working with what he thought worked at the Euros, question mark?
Well, Danny Rose also scored, right?
Yeah.
A few days ago.
There we go, yeah.
And Joe Hart in goal. So that's going to be your England team to face.
I hope that's Slovakia. What it was. Is he sits them both down. He's like, Luke, have you scored this season? You have not? Danny, have you? Oh, you have? Well, decision is made. That's how he talks, by the way, Sam Allen. I don't know if you knew that, yeah. So it's an American accent that's slightly superior. That's how he talks.
He actually has a Dudley accent, give or take. So it's Slovakia versus England. It's Sunday at noon Eastern. It's on ESPN Deportes. It's also on Watch ESPN. We will have a review of it, but we're not quite sure when, because we're still hoping to take Labour Day off.
Yep.
Even Total Soccer Show deserves a day off.
Yeah, I think so. The one designed for laborers, I think. I could be wrong on that one. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So, yeah, why not?
I also have some other labour to do on Labour Day.
Yeah, you do.
And I bet you have house things to do, right?
I also do.
Yeah, you do. Some wood to stain or something equally thrilling?
Yeah, a little bit. I have had a few questions like, are you still doing the show, or are you just doing home renovations at this point? Is that what you do for a living? You do home repair? It feels that way.
Temporarily, right?
Yeah.
All right, before we get to some very exciting scouting reports, we have a bonus sponsorship announcement.
Yep.
So, you know that we've been sponsored by Fuji. for a few months now. Fuji have so enjoyed our sponsorship, and they want to do a back-to-school special for TSS listeners. So this is very special. We're the only sort of place where you can get this discount. If you go to playfuchi.com, which is their new website, playfuchi.com, correct?
Good spelling.
Playfuchi.com. Use coupon code TOTALSOCCERBONUS, all one word, all lowercase, TOTALSOCCERBONUS. This is a new coupon. You get $70 off a Fuji rebounder.
That will work.
$70 off a Fuji rebounder.
It's not bad.
I'll put the link and the coupon code in the show notes.
You do that. I also have to say one more yep. I did a yep, and then I stopped, and I can't stop with just two.
So now you got all three.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's from what, Jurassic Park?
You be quiet.
All right, Taylor, let's get to the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network. You have handed me a piece of paper with 8 names on it. 4 scouts and 4 scoutees.
To clarify, you know that the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park have spoken on one occasion.
Excuse me?
Jurassic Park 3, in his dream sequence, the raptor on the airplane says, Alan, to him. You're welcome. It's the worst scene ever in movie history. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and watch that clip. It hurts my soul.
I'll be looking for that on YouTube as soon as we're done recording.
Yes, let's do that. But in the meantime, let's do some Scouting Network updates. Yeah. Tyler Dunaway emails scouting Gabriel Jesus. Decent debut game for Gabriel Jesus. In his first match with Brazil's senior national team, he scored 2 goals and drew a penalty that Neymar converted. Brazil won the qualifier 3-0 against Ecuador.
So this is Chiche's managerial debut with Brazil, because he didn't coach the Olympic team. Gabriel Jesus on the Olympic team, but this boggles my mind a little bit, because it was such an important team for Brazil that it's weird that this is his national team debut.
Right.
Have you seen these goals?
I have seen these goals.
The one where he scores from outside the box, wearing number 9 for Brazil.
He pulls a Pulisic?
It was very Pulisic, but even maybe in under more pressure.
A little bit, yeah.
Remember all the talk we had about Brazil needing a number 9, and they didn't have anyone as a striker. This guy looked the business. Brazil has a number 9 now.
Yep.
And then I didn't see the whole game, but I did see that Neymar set it up. I think I saw Felipe Coutinho running around. Suddenly I'm thinking, wow, this Brazil team's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Daryl, you may disagree with me here, and this is a bit controversial, but I'm going to say he might be a Pep Guardiola player. I feel like maybe he might get a move to Man City sometime soon. Just kidding. He already has.
So, just to update everybody, he's moved to Man City and been loaned back to Palmeiras.
Right.
Yes?
Mm-hmm. And I think if he keeps up these performances, he will not be loaned out next year. Would be my guess.
Next up, we have a scouting report from David Williams, who's scouting Julian Brandt, one of my favourite German wingers. David says Brandt was a key part of the German Olympic team, which won the silver medal. Gabriel Jesus says, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's weird to say won the silver medal, because you did get a medal, but you certainly didn't win the medal you wanted.
Only in the Olympics do you say that.
Yep.
So we'll say it here. Won the silver medal. Brandt started and played 90 minutes in every match, and now looks likely to be a regular starter for Bayer Leverkusen this season. The really, all caps, big news is that he was called up to the senior German national team and started against Finland.
Big things.
All right, TSS Scouting Network on the way.
Yep.
Right.
Up next comes from Michael Fisk, scouting Andreas Christensen. To absolutely no one's surprise, Andreas was called up to the Danish first team for his international break. He's also the youngest player on their roster, which means that, quote, he good, saith Michael, I think quoting me. He played the full 90 in a 5-0 thrashing of Liechtenstein and will probably anchor the defense against Armenia. Most importantly, Michael's Fucci arrived, and he's looking forward to breaking it out this weekend.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael, and thank you to Fucci. We have a scouting report from Pat Harty, who is scouting Jason Denayer, the Man City Belgian defender.
Formerly of Celtic, formerly of Galatasaray.
Right, yeah, he's been loaned about, right? He's seen some of Europe.
And he's seen some more of Northern England.
Okay. Okay. Pat's report is Denayer got a loan to Sunderland on the final day of the transfer window. He won't be a nailed-on starter, but it's definitely better than sitting on the bench at City. If Denayer can still play right back, this is me talking now, not Pat, I think he can play right back for Sunderland.
Yep. I think so.
Fans were not impressed with Donald Love. DeAndre Yedlin did not end up going there.
Would you say that fans were not in love with Donald Love?
Next scouting report, please, Taylor.
Comes from Taylor Williams, scouting James Weir. The former Manchester United Academy product moved to Hull City on deadline day. Taylor, who's a Manchester United fan, Taylor Williams that is sad to see him go, but thinks it will probably be the best thing for his career.
So, does Taylor Williams want to keep scouting James Weir? This is an interesting thing.
We shall find out.
A lot of people join the scouting network. They send us an email saying, hey, can I scout a guy from X, right? And then we give them a player that plays for a team that they support. But then that player moves. And it's a make or break moment for me of whether the scout goes with them or not.
Well, I think a lot of times it depends on like how visible the player has been. Because if it's a player playing for one club and you get to watch them a lot, maybe you get to read about them, learn about them, see them, then they make that jump, you sort of maybe have that connection with them, so you want to see what they're up to at the next club. Whereas if it's a player who you haven't seen much of, they're playing in the reserves. I mean, to be fair, Taylor has done a really good job of keeping track of a player who is playing in like the PL2.
Yeah.
But it might also be that, I don't really know him, so we'll see where he goes. So we shall see. If Taylor wants to switch, he can email and let us know.
Okay.
But so far, he is not.
All right, I like the commitment. If you would like to join the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network, you can go to totalsoccershow.com/subscribe.
You can.
You can choose to not scout a player.
You can.
Right? You can choose to just subscribe and support the show, help us make more episodes of TSS. Maybe one day we can quit our other jobs. Maybe. You do that by going to totalsoccershow.com.
Or pay someone to do home renovations for us.
/subscribe.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. If you are still waiting for your player, you can email us and just use the subject line Itchy Feet. Let us know you're waiting for a player. We will get a player to you as soon as possible. If you've emailed us Itchy Feet within the last week, I want to say, there are only 4 people that we haven't assigned, 4 Itchy Feet scouts that I will get to over the weekend. I promise.
Do it. Do it, Mr. Grove.
I will.
Do it.
All right, Tyler. I think we're done here.
I think we are done here.
All that remains to say...
It's a good way to end the show.
It's worth reminding people that the US-Trinidad game is Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern kickoff. It's on Fox Sports.
And that means maybe we get to see Sasha Kleshton start, maybe Christian Pulisic, maybe Darlington Nagbe, who I think is still alive. I could be wrong.
We haven't said his name.
We have not.
Yeah, so I was kind of upset that Nagbe didn't get a game against St Vincent and the Grenadines. I feel like he's being held back for no good reason.
I think
he's been asked to like repeat grades in school, even though he keeps passing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sure there's reason for it. ? But I would also say
he's Andrew Garfield in The Social Network.
Yes. That's. I don't want to say that though because then things don't go well. Spoiler alert. But I would say after that starting 11, I wasn't surprised that he didn't play because if you look at who Klinsmann brought on, he brought a forward because Josie and Bobby Wood were getting kicked so much in this game. You bring in another forward, and it's also Jordan Morris who's been playing well. Yeah. You bring in Kleshton, I've got no complaints there. You bring in Pulisic, I've got no complaints there.
But what does Nagbe have to do, though? Why isn't he sort of higher up the pecking order? For example, why wasn't he starting in central midfield ahead of Alejandro Bedoya, who wasn't magnificent in this game?
No, but again, I think no one... I think if we brought in Darlington Nagbe, we'd probably honestly be saying the same things, which is like, it was a good game, it was okay, but it's St. Vincent. Yeah. So I just think it would be nice to see him get some recognition for all that he's doing. But by the same token, I'm not like so bummed out that he didn't play against St. Vincent. It's not like it was this critical game that he was on the bench for because Klinsmann doesn't trust him. It was an easy game that Klinsmann wanted to do some other stuff with. It was also an easy game, but one that we said in our preview the U.S. had to win. They had to get the result. They had to win convincingly as well so they could get some people some breaks, and I think that's why you saw the lineup you saw.
Fair enough. Okay, so we'll be back on Saturday with a very short show letting you know what's happened with Trinidad and Guatemala and previewing USA versus Trinidad.
Right.
Until then, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to watch the game and then talk to me today.
Thank you, buddy, for taking the time to watch the game and then talk to me today. And I hope everyone at home enjoys watching Season 2 of Narcos this entire weekend.
Oh, I won't be doing that.
I know you won't, but many will.
We had... Still peek behind the curtain. We've probably spent about 20 minutes today with Taylor trying to convince me to watch Narcos and me giving you reasons why I'm not going to.
That is not what happened. That is a gross exaggeration. You were saying why you weren't interested. I was saying why I enjoyed it. It was not me saying, and therefore you should watch. I believe before we started recording, it ended with me saying, yeah, you probably shouldn't watch.
Fair enough. Yeah, I took that as me winning the argument.
No, I took that as you being obtuse and not interested in global drug trade. So, to each his own.
On that bombshell.
Go watch your robots and your other shows.
My robots.
Your Games of Thrones.
Oh, my Mr. Robots.
Yes.
Well, actually, I've got one episode to watch. All right. Listeners, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again on Saturday. Hey, listeners, future Darryl here. Just cutting in to say there's been a change of plan. We're actually going to do that Trinidad preview show on Sunday evening so that we can also do the Slovakia v England review. So the US Trinidad preview show and Slovakia England review show will be out Sunday evening.